ISO FileMaker Magazine, the professional's resource for FileMaker know-how.
Hey there, my fellow FileMaker developers and learners. This is Matt Petrowski bringing you these FileMaker tutorials from my website, FileMakerMagazine.com. We are going to be taking a quick walkthrough in this video of all of the new features in FileMaker 19. I'll make it quick and easy for you, so let's take a look at the file. Alright, so here we go with the file. It's just a simple, easy file. You can see that I have 18 records in this, so even if I spend a minute on each one, it's just 18 minutes of your time, and I'll probably spend a lot less. So as you can see right here, we've got the new icon of FileMaker. Personally, I'm not a fan of it, but it is showcasing their brand, or their rebranding, Claris, but hey. I was wishing for a better icon. Maybe that'll change in the future. Here's the one big thing that's coming out after 19. They are going to be releasing new releases, as they say, in a much quicker, more rapid succession from each other. So this is probably the last quote-unquote annual release. So let's go through each of the features. First off, we have an updated screen for the welcome screen. Nothing that big of a deal, but you can see right here that they are focusing on resources. That's the first thing that starts up here, as opposed to blank, which is what used to start up. They also have this area over here where we're going to find Learn, Claris Connect, Browse Marketplace. Obviously, Claris is now pushing Claris Connect and their other products that they're going to be developing along with FileMaker. Up number 2, so we have in drag and drop. This is Macintosh only, a drag and drop installer. You no longer on the Mac need to run an installer, although on Windows you will be doing the same thing you've done before in the past. And you just drag it into your folder and you're ready to go. Next up, dark mode, another Macintosh supported specific feature, because you can switch colors and themes in Windows, but it doesn't have an explicit light versus dark mode. Well, we can now switch FileMaker, or if you switch the OS into dark mode, FileMaker will follow suit. Now, that's the Chrome, as they call it, of the actual application. So there is no dark mode per se for FileMaker themes. This is the look of FileMaker itself, the development environment. Next up, we have a startup file option. Now, remember, preferences are something that's client specific. So this is just something that each client can choose. If you have a number of clients, this isn't like a developer situation where you can say, every time that all my developers that they connect to, I don't know, that they open FileMaker, I want them all to automatically open this particular file. Nope, this is a client-specific feature. We can see right here that you can check the little box, and at startup, you get to choose which file automatically opens up at the time that you open FileMaker. Now, for us developers, that's a really cool thing, because if you use a launcher file, something that basically points out to all the other FileMaker files that you connect to, then that's the file that you can open up at startup. All right, this is probably the first really cool feature that I am really looking forward to. Currently, it only applies to layouts, but from what I've heard, the intention is this will extend into other areas. So, as you can see right here, it says Quick Open Layout Navigation, but this may become Quick Open Anything Navigation. That would be really cool. So hopefully they modify this. You can see that it's Command Option K. It's sort of hidden in FileMaker 19, or Control Alt K. And what comes up is this little item right here, where all of a sudden you're able to just start typing part of the name of a layout, and then you can hit that return key and it will jump to that layout. Very cool for working in very large FileMaker solutions. Scientific notation, not a big thing here, but it is an option that we have. Now in the data formatting, where we have our numbers, our dates, and our times, we have a scientific notation option with the option of a fixed number of decimals. Next up, we have a page count. Now, this is what it's going to look like. You're able to use this just like you do with all of the other insert symbols. We have this new page count. There's also a companion get page count function, which you're able to use, and it'll look something like this, and it's really only visible in preview mode. I'm in browse mode in this particular file right now, but it'll look like this. You can say page 6 of 24 or what have you. Just a much easier way than all of the hacks that we had to use in the past in order to get a total number of pages. Up next, this one is a big one for me. We now have the ability to support copy and paste of styles on button bars. So from the time that FileMaker released button bars, we had these were grayed out. You just couldn't use them. You could use them on regular buttons, but you can use them now on button bars, which is a very big thing because working with button bars, quite honestly, was a bit of a hassle. So quite easily, copy and paste. This is probably the one feature that lots of people are going to be talking about. It factors into the fact that FileMaker has been making this migration towards opening up, or maybe not opening up, but extending its XML capabilities. Now what that means is FileMaker is going to be providing a tool in the future through the developer program of being able to update existing solutions, because the whole development, staging, production process of a life cycle of a FileMaker database really didn't exist, but now we're going to get that. You'll be able to export some XML and then apply it. But that also comes in the form of add-ons. Because FileMaker has a more descriptive representation of what would be applied in terms of changes to a FileMaker database, you can now provide whole component parts. FileMaker is calling these add-ons, and essentially what you do is you can use a single FileMaker file that has only the pieces that you want or that are necessary for a particular feature in that one file. From that file, you can then save it. We can see right here that there is a script step that says save a copy as add-on package. And so what this does is it takes all of the XML of the current window. You can see right there that it asks for a window name. You specify it. FileMaker takes the XML output from that file and turns it into what's called an add-on. Now we can't quite see it right here. Actually, let me go into layout mode and move this off to the side so that we can see where, oh, there it is right there. So I'll zoom in a little bit more. There it is right there. So we have this fields, objects, and now this new area called add-ons is going to be available. And you click on this little plus button down here. Hopefully I'm not blocking that. And you can then integrate all this XML that defines all of the things that are required for an enhancement within FileMaker. Now this enhancement can be either something that includes a web viewer, which is a feature that we'll be coming up to here in a couple more steps, or something that is just pieces and parts that make a FileMaker feature: tables, fields, scripts, custom functions, value lists, etc. Anything that creates an enhancement to a FileMaker solution can be distributed as an add-on. And of course, more information about that will be forthcoming from FileMaker because they really want people to take advantage of that so that they can populate their marketplace. All right, let's move on. WebDirect. We now have compatible card windows in WebDirect. So for those of you that have been wanting to use FileMaker on the web with WebDirect and have been complaining about card windows, you now have support for them. We can see right here, using the compatibility feature of the scripting workspace, we can see that a card window can be created, or a new window, and that window happens to be a card. Next up, we have enhanced JavaScript. Now there's been a lot of talk about this particular feature, and don't think that it's that big of an enhancement. It definitely is a big improvement, especially on the Windows side. But for the longest time, FileMaker has been able to do all kinds of things within a web viewer. But what's going to happen now is it's going to become much more pervasive because of the add-ons that we just saw, because JavaScript add-ons will be provided to FileMaker users who choose not to learn JavaScript. And for those who do, it is now easier because of this one script step right here. Well, not script step, but a JavaScript function that allows you to go in both directions. So the way that this works is that the web viewer now includes, by default, an object that is FileMaker.performScript, making it much easier to call a FileMaker script from within a web viewer using JavaScript. Then on the reverse side of things, we have the ability to perform a JavaScript within a web viewer. I don't happen to have the script step up. We'll take a look at that really quickly. I'll go ahead and show that. And there's also this feature down here you can see where there's a security setting where we are saying allow JavaScript to perform FileMaker scripts. This is a secondary security step that is on an individual web viewer, as opposed to the initial security step that you need to set with regards to allowing URLs to be executed, and that is within the privilege set of the security settings of FileMaker. So let's take a quick look at our scripts here, and we will look at that perform bidirectional JavaScript, and we'll take a look at the step. Here it is right here in actuality, and there we go. There's what it looks like. So you are just going to specify the name of the object, in this case the web viewer, the internal name of the JavaScript function. That's the function that either you have written in JavaScript that is now being used in the web viewer, or something that somebody else has used. Maybe it's a function part of some library that you've chosen to use. You're going to see full calendar. It's going to be everywhere. That's what FileMaker has in their screenshots. It's what's going to be provided down the road as far as I'm aware. And you can, of course, provide any of your parameters along with that function call. This completes the full round circle of being able to do JavaScript in and out. And as I mentioned, it's a really big benefit, especially on Windows, where formerly there was a limitation that you could only send up to a certain number of characters on Windows, because quite frankly, IE on Windows sucks. But at least we have the ability to go in both directions without the limitation on both Mac and Windows now because of this enhancement to the web viewer. Now, along with this, we get the enhancement of accessing, or the ability to access, the data API, but we're able to do that internally within FileMaker. What does that mean? It essentially means that if you want to take advantage of the data API, a la being able to get JSON back from FileMaker server, or from, in this case, the client would communicate with server would get the result and pass it back to the client, then you're going to have to become familiar with the data API. That means executing a URL-looking item where you pass your path, your query fragments, and then any type of JSON that you're going to pass to the actual data API. And then you get a result back. We can see right here, we execute the data API and it comes back. Where and how is this helpful? Well, it's helpful in our add-ons, which are now going to take advantage of our JavaScript, which is now going to take advantage of everything that you have within a web viewer, and passing data back and forth, since JSON is the native language for JavaScript, between web viewers and your FileMaker database. I do suggest that you take a little bit of time and become familiar with JavaScript. Don't be afraid of it. It's not that scary. Moving on to the next one, number 14. This is a FileMaker. In fact, the next 3 items are FileMaker Go specific items. They all deal with FileMaker Go, although one of them does have partial support on the desktop. So you can see right here that we've got near field, or NFC. If you're not familiar with that, you can look up things like in-tag. These are all the specifications that have been set up. 213, 216, 215, and 216, all these represent is the number of bytes that you can carry in terms of an NFC tag. Those plastic cards, you can get them on Amazon, you can get them on all kinds of different places. We can now take advantage of those within iOS and FileMaker Go. Here are our script steps. You configure the reading and how long it's going to read. You can see that we've got a timeout right there. You read the data once the data is in. Then you have to cancel the reading right here. So it's basically a read. You get your data, do whatever you want with your data, and then stop reading. Lots of cool things with NFC we're going to be able to do. Next up, we have the ability for FileMaker, for any given script, to be exposed to the shortcuts application. And in conjunction with that, you can use Siri in order to launch or invoke those shortcuts. So there's 3 different pieces to the puzzle here: FileMaker, Shortcuts app, and Siri. You don't have to use Siri because the Shortcuts app can be manually tapped. You can put something directly on the dashboard or the desktop of iOS, but this is essentially what it looks like. This is just part of the process. In the scripting workspace, you will right-click just like we do in order to grant full access, and this new option of enable shortcuts, they call it a donation. You're donating it to the shortcuts application. Then over here within the shortcuts application, we can see that we're going to choose the script that we want to run from within FileMaker Go 19. And of course, you can use as part of that shortcut accessing and hooking into Siri so that you basically access Siri and then just talk your request in order to go run your FileMaker script. Very cool stuff. Up next for 16, Core ML. This is the one item that I mentioned that we have partial support for on desktop, or excuse me, within the client and within server. So Core ML is machine learning. And machine learning has been going on for many, many years. It's something that if you have an Alexa or anything else, when you say a statement, it has trained enough models so that it knows that when you ask for a certain thing, it can read the waveform of the word that you're asking for and then go get some type of response and return what you want. This happens with images or with text or with any type of data coming back. You can see right here, this is my example for you. It's one of the most simple I could come up with. Let's see if I can get that so that I'm not covering it. We'll move it off screen there a little bit. So first off, what I'm doing is I'm capturing a model. Now, a model has to be trained prior to being able to use Core ML. Think about it. This makes sense. You have to have pictures of what a gun looks like before you can say, hey, use this picture to determine if it's a gun. Go figure, it makes sense. So what you do is you get a bunch of pictures of guns that you want to look for in this particular model. You train it, and then you put that model into a container field. So in this case, we're saying the model is gun detection. We are going to configure the learning model. We are going to be using, there's two types of operations. In this case, I'm using vision. It's probably going to be one of the more common or more popular. You can see that I'm reading that model from a FileMaker field. Now the model file is really small. It can be large, but it's in many cases will be quite small. And once you have that model read in, then FileMaker Go on the iOS device is going to take advantage of Core ML. It's going to compute some ranges. It'll apply a value. It's a decimal value, usually between 0 and 1, in terms of its level of confidence. Oh, this is a gun, or no, this isn't a gun. Of course, you could put in things with your model. You can say, for example, train a squirt gun and designate that as not an actual gun, so that when you take a picture of something that's a fluorescent plastic object, it doesn't say that that's a real gun. How well you train your model is going to determine how successful you are able to take advantage, or how well you're able to take advantage of Core ML. And here you finally unload this if you don't need to consume the memory. All right, getting to something that is not necessarily inside FileMaker, but is something that we will be able to use as developers. That is the FM upgrade tool. This is in preview mode, just like the add-ons are. These are lots of features that FileMaker is putting in for us to take advantage of and try out. We can see a lot of different commands here, and essentially this is a command line tool, and it will be fostering the path from development to staging to production. So when we develop on a file that is not the current production file, and we want to then move it to staging, we are going to save XML from our development file. You can see right here over off to the side, we've got that command which is available under the Tools menu, save a copy as XML. This is then going to have the differences of what we have created in our development file. We can then go apply those differences using the FM upgrade tool. And hopefully this will work out really successfully. I've only played with a little bit, but it is very exciting in terms of being able to not mess with production until we know that the things that we've developed can apply to staging successfully. We test them out, everything checks out, and then we apply to production. And finally, not a really big list on terms of the functions that we have that are new. Some that support, for example, the new features, the new get page count. But we can see right here that they've really only done a few minor changes. It would have been nice to see a few more functions in this release, but we can see that we've got get system appearance. This has simply been updated, and what we can do is this did previously exist. We can now detect whether on Mac OS or iOS, whether the operating system is in light mode or dark mode. And what this essentially allows you to do is, it would be a little bit of a pain. I have voted for or suggested that they provide some type of facility that allows us to use this type of function to actually use a script step to call FileMaker to switch themes. That would be really cool, being able to switch the look of your FileMaker layouts from a light mode to a dark mode. That does not exist. It is not in FileMaker 19, but we are able to detect whether the operating system itself is in light mode or dark mode. And the only way that you would be able to switch your look and feel of your FileMaker database is to have both a light layout and a dark layout for every layout in your solution, and then you would just go to one or the other. That's a lot to manage, not something that I would suggest, but hopefully in the future they will have something where you're actually able to switch the theme that is used on the current layout. That would be very cool. Get application version is updated. We are no longer using Pro Advanced because FileMaker is not calling it Pro Advanced anymore. It is now just FileMaker Pro. And in many cases, they're not even calling it FileMaker Pro. It's called Claris FileMaker, I believe. Get high contrast color has been replaced by Get System Appearance. It's no longer going to be available. These two functions are very valuable: convert from FileMaker Path and convert to FileMaker Path, which are going to be absolutely critical because your paths in JavaScript use a POSIX format and do not follow along with FileMaker's unconventional method of defining paths. And of course, we've already taken a look at the get page count. So these are the new features that are available in FileMaker 19. There may be a few other little minor tweaks here and there. Of course, in the layout or in the UI, when I go into layout mode here and I go into, let's say, for example, I'll go up to the tools. I don't have FileMaker developer tools turned on right now in order to show the data viewer, unfortunately, but you're going to notice in many areas of the application they have done some minor tweaks on things. Say, for example, we don't have an outline on our little buttons, and for example, in the data viewer they don't have the icons, I don't believe, have color on them anymore. They are now a neutral flat gray. So just little tweaks here and there like that you will see, but nothing that is major that impacts the development that you're going to do. So I hope this video has helped you out, and as always, I'd like to wish you much luck on your own development and happy file making. You can also click subscribe if you'd like to, and a thumbs up if this video helped you out. So check us out over at FileMakerMagazine.com. We hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial, and we'd like to say thank you for your subscription and your support. If you're not already a subscriber, head on over to www.FileMakerMagazine.com/subscribe for more information about the benefits of joining.